from Human Resource Consultants in New York City. We are a company who helps other companies with all matters of human resource management. We've been in business for about 10 years, and in that time we've saved companies millions of dollars. So I'm happy to be here today. What I'm going to talk about today is job descriptions, specifically 3 critical methods for determining the best people to hire. So how did I get involved? Well, from your company's founding in 1999 up to 2010, hiring was done by an outside staffing service. In 2010, those services became an in-house function. 3 human resource personnel were added, and all aspects of human resources were done in-house at Moonstar Company. In 2010, statistics started to be plotted. You wanted to know specifically what was the employee turnover rate. You'll see employee turnover on this graph. 2010, the highest was somewhere just above 3%. In 2011, it got up to 5%, but then in the second quarter of 2012, it peaked. There you'll see it's nearly 6.9%, and your company decided that was unacceptable. So that's when I was called in 2012 to get involved, to help come up with a system of finding the best people to hire so that they hang around to increase employee retention. Now, we knew that people were leaving, and then we needed to know why people were leaving. So we started doing exit interviews, and we determined, you see in blue there, incompatibility was the #1 reason that employees did not hang around. They were let go or decided to leave on their own for reasons of incompatibility. And those are the skills, knowledge, and abilities that they needed coming into the job, they did not possess. So we started to take a close look at that, and we came up with a long-term plan called the Hiring Effectiveness Longitudinal Plan. And this simply, the goal of this plan is to identify the best people to hire. The first step in that plan was launched in October 2012 last year, and that was getting a broader perspective. We wanted to know what was going on in the market. We wanted to know the competition. We wanted to know the economy, and we wanted to know hiring trends. So that whole process, all of you went through that process October 2012 and just wrapped that up. So we're ready for the next step you see there, which is job descriptions. The step after that is hiring committees, and then the final step is learning about the interview process. So we're on job descriptions today, and this will be the first step in this process. So let me tell you what job descriptions are good for. Job descriptions are good for recruitment. They're good for determining salaries, legal compliance, performance appraisals once the employees are hired, for determining benefits, and for training and development. You can hold everything up to the job description to, it's kind of like a map to tell you where to go next. Today we're going to focus on the recruitment aspect of job descriptions, and our aim or our target is developing effective job descriptions. In order to do that, 3 determinations must be made. First, you must determine the essential functions of each job. Then you must determine the specific requirements. Finally, you need to set priorities. In each section, I've answered questions of why. That tells you the value of each of these determinations. Then what? It tells you the definition of each determination. And then how? I give you worksheets, questionnaires, and examples to help you get to the place you need to go. So the first thing in the process is determining essential functions. Why do we need to determine essential functions? First, you need to identify qualified candidates. And determining essential functions is required by the Americans with Disabilities Act. So it's a very important first step in writing effective job descriptions. Essential functions basically answer the question, what do you do? And the criteria for determining if a certain task is an essential function to the job are, is the task important to the company operation? Is it performed with frequency? Is there no staff to cover that task? And is it a task that cannot be redesigned? If the answers are yes, then that particular task is an essential function. Now, how do we determine this? First, you answer the essential function job questionnaire. Now, this can be done individually by managers and by executives, or this can be done in a group setting. But the first step is answering the questionnaire with questions like, does the job exist to do this function? How much time per week is spent doing this function? and so forth. I think there are about 10 questions on that questionnaire to help you narrow down whether a particular task is an essential function to the job. The next step is to complete the essential functions worksheet. You'll see pieces of equipment, telephone, copier, computer listed, and then we want to know with what frequency you use this equipment. The next section, physical demands, standing, sitting, lifting. We want to know how often you do these things and how much, like for lifting, how much pounds, what's the weight that you're required to lift. So those help not only to determine essential functions, but they also tick off those boxes on the Americans with Disabilities Act worksheet that you must complete in order for legal compliance. Now we come to specific requirements. Specific requirements help you identify qualified applicants, but they also help you do the bigger part of the job generally, which is identifying unqualified applicants. So specific requirements are very important. Let me tell you what they are. Specific requirements answer the questions, not what do you do as essential functions do, but specific requirements answer the question, what can you do? Specific requirements involve knowledge, skills, and ability. And in order to determine those aspects of your applicants, you need to assess what is called competencies. You'll need to determine 8 to 12 competencies before you can formulate your knowledge, skills, and abilities assessment for the interview process. Competencies are things like, is your applicant action-oriented? Do they show a high degree of adaptability? Do they apply learning? Do they show applied learning skills and abilities? So these are just the first 3. I've included a long list of competencies for you to look over and familiarize yourself. Know that you can add competencies to that list. The next step, and this will be done with focus groups. Focus group 1 will determine what competencies are required and by whom are they required. I've just broken, as for an example, I've just broken it down into frontline employees, supervisors, and managers or executives, because I know that's what you call your employees. And then you tick the boxes. Do you require frontline employees to be action-oriented, supervisors? You see in the example that all 3 of these are required to be action-oriented, so you'll kind of figure out what your company needs based on this example. The final question is how. How do we do these things? And this is where second round focus group comes into play. They're going to check the work of the first round focus group by asking questions of each of the competencies identified in the first round of focus groups, like what are the most important functions of the job, what does it take to be successful in this job, etc., so that you test what they've identified, and this will be a totally separate set of personnel. Now we move on to priorities. Why? Why do we need to set priorities? Well, you've determined your pool of qualified applicants. Now you need to determine the most essential functions of the job so that you can, among the qualified applicants, determine the most qualified applicants. It's a further distinction among the qualified. Priorities will also help you determine aspects of a task with regard to the organization and with regard to the job. What? Priorities are, you need to separate each task into 2 categories. The first one is critical requirements, the must-haves, things that have to happen in order to be an asset and make the company successful. The second area is desirable requirements. These are secondary criteria, and these are generally things that can be learned on the job. How? How do we do this? We answer questions. Again, this can be done in a group setting or individually by supervisors and executives, answering questions like, could this job be performed adequately without this task or ability? Could this task be performed easily by other employees or by someone in a different position? Could this task be performed by someone without specialized skills, expertise, or other qualifications? And the list goes on. There are, I think, 5 questions on this particular worksheet or questionnaire to help you prioritize or order each task so that you know which among these are the most critical tasks. So I've talked to you today about formulating effective job descriptions. The first, essential functions. Second determination you need to make is specific requirements. And the third thing you need to do is set priorities. Your next step is putting your task groups together. I've included an email for you to send to your personnel to help them understand this entire process, the second step in this 4-step initiative. and good luck. Thank you.